Hello and welcome to another midweek championship predictions from the Honest Football Podcast. I'm Craig Savage and with me as always is Daniel Cody and Charlie Betts. Let's have a quick recap of Matchday 36, and it's probably the lowest total overall in a long time, but there's only one perfect score, and that was my 1-0 Brentford victory, the first fixture of that matchday. Other than that, it was me and Charlie level with 6 points and Daniel Cody on 4. So the table looks like this. I move on to 269 with 47 perfect scores. Daniel Cody's on 253 with 40 perfect scores. And Charlie Betts is on 231 with 33 perfect scores. So let's start off with the first fixture. It is Cardiff City versus Stoke at the Cardiff City Stadium. Cody, Cardiff will be very disappointed that they lost in the 94th minute to Watford.
Yeah, first defeat under Mick McCarthy, and I think it would be described as dubious goalkeeping, perhaps would be the term I would use there. Let's be fair, it was a pretty even game. I don't really think they deserve to be a winner, but they're the sort of performances for the Championship. You saw Watford nicking that one. We'll talk about Swansea later on. They're the results that get teams in promotion form. Cardiff, probably not quite there. Mick McCarthy's still done a brilliant job, and he's up against a Stoke side that, bar home games against Wycombe and Luton near the bottom, have been pretty poor and conceded a lot of goals recently. So I can only see a Cardiff win. I think they're going to get back to comfortable winning ways. It's whether I go 2 or 3, but I'm going to stick calm and stay 2-0.
Charlie?
Yeah, I have to agree with a Cardiff win. I mean, Dan spoke highly of Cardiff. To give you a bit more of a Stoke perspective, lost 4 on the bounce away from home and drawn the other one in the last 5. I don't know what's going on. You know, I rate Michael O'Neill highly as a manager, but something is happening there. I mean, they lost to Middlesbrough 3-0. Had more possession, which we know all about that, but then also had 16 shots, 4 on target, and just the ratio of creating chances to converting them to anything meaningful is pitiful, really. So for me, it's not going to stop this weekend, whatever it is that's causing them to be in the woeful form that they're in. So on that basis, Cardiff to win. I don't know where the Stoke goal's going to come from, as I've just said. So I have to give Cardiff a clean sheet. 3-0 Cardiff. And I'll repeat of the other night.
Yeah, I think you two spoke highly of and lowly of Cardiff and Stoke, to be honest. I can't really add much more, apart from obviously the goalkeeping right at the end there. For Cardiff, if you just stand still, you've saved it. Simple as. Why'd you die? Stoke, yeah, I told you, there's no Michael O'Neill masterclass anymore. I don't know what's happened. Since January, they've just stopped. I'm going to go 2-1 to Cardiff. I don't see them conceding, but I didn't want to copy the same scoreline as Cody. Next up at Pride Park, it is Derby County versus Brentford. Charlie, Derby, looking at the last 4 games, they have not scored a goal. It's all dried up.
I don't understand how. I mean, the Millwall game, Derby has 70% possession and an inordinate amount of shots. Millwall had 2 and scored 1. It's just when it's like that for you, I feel a little bit because, you know, really, aside from scoring, it seems like they're doing everything else right. But I think Brentford win. I don't think what would be pleasing as a Derby fan, even I would say, is they didn't fold when they let one in, which they have done previously. They then shipped 3 or 4 in most games when they've conceded early. So on that basis, I mean, Brentford are going to win. I'm going to go somewhere in the middle now. 2-0. I can't see like as you alluded to, Craig, I can't see where the Derby goal's coming from. 2-0 Brentford.
Ready?
Well, I think the stat that Charlie's missed, which is key, is that Derby had 70% possession, which is where it all went wrong, because we've seen this. They're going back to that cocky way where they're keeping the ball and not creating clear-cut chances. So possession for possession's sake, we've said all season in the Championship is a problem. Brentford, again, a bit like most of the other sides at the top. If you take out the Norwich game since they've come back to perform, they're grinding out wins. A narrow one against Stoke and then against Blackburn this weekend. So I think it's going to be the same again. Derby haven't been conceding many of the last 3. So I'm going to go for another 1-0 win, but this time for Brentford.
I think we're going to have to go the same route, to be honest, with Brentford. Obviously, I did say they were obviously going to win 1-0. They did win 1-0 on Friday night to Blackburn. It'd be pretty much a similar game, in my opinion. Do you know what? I'm going to go Brentford to win 3-1. To be honest, I don't know where the Derby's goal's coming from. Like I said, with Stoke, but I'm just going to say 3-1 to Brentford. Up next, Kenilworth Road. It is Luton Town versus Coventry City. Codes, obviously Coventry didn't play because they were supposed to play Rotherham, but Luton did everything right but score.
Yeah, and it's a repeat of the same problem a lot of the season, which is we've not got the same clinical edge as some other sides. We've got a good football team. We played well. We competed well. And after the Norwich game, I think we saw the gap between Norwich and the other promotion contenders playing against Swansea next. One of the things that worries me about this game, Craig, is that the away reverse fixture was one of the worst 0-0s I've seen all season. And I've got a horrible suspicion we're going to see the same again because Coventry need points at this point. They're getting closer and closer. Not playing didn't help them, of course. I have to go for 0-0. I know it's going to be awful and it'll probably be gone in 10 minutes, but I can't see where either team's getting the goal from.
I can. Do you know what? I think Nathan Jones will probably work something on obviously Monday. Obviously, Adebayo, I thought he worked hard again. The deliveries were pretty good. Hopefully Potts is fine. Obviously, it didn't look nice him going off on Saturday. But yeah, I think him and Adebayo and Collins, could be something special there. If he just a little knock on there, if he went to Collins' feet, he probably might tuck it away. Just wasn't our day for that goal, to be honest, but everything but the goal. Obviously, Coventry didn't play, so can't really comment on that. I'm going to go Luton to win this one, to be honest. I think they'll bounce back. I think they'll really learn from Saturday's mistakes. There's only one mistake that they conceded. I think they're going to win this one 2-1. Charlie?
Well, Dan's nicked my score, so somebody's getting a point instead. So I'm going to go for a Coventry win. Part of the reason being, Luton are safe, aren't they, really? They're not going to get in the playoffs. They're likely, I say they're safe. The likelihood of them going down is ridiculously unlikely. And that's always a worry then, I think, because, obviously these are professional players. I'm not questioning motivation or anything like that. But when you've got Coventry who are fighting down there, I just think sometimes it gives you that edge. If you are Coventry in that situation, sometimes you win that 50-50 a bit more. Do you know what I mean? That kind of stuff. So Luton have struggled a bit in front of goal. I kind of see them getting a goal, possibly not. I was thinking a 0-0. So on that basis, I don't think it'll be pretty. I agree with you on that. But I'm going to go for the Coventry away win, which doesn't happen hardly at all this season. But I just think it's not even a footballing reason. They've just got a little bit more to play for. So, heart and enthusiasm will get them through this one. So 1-0 Coventry. But I don't think it'll be pretty, to be honest.
All right, up next at the roadside spin, it is Middlesbrough versus Preston. And Charlie, Preston. I said, do you think this will be a Wickens day? And I didn't go for him, but you did. And it was a typical Preston performance.
Oh, I just don't know. We like to analyse teams on this podcast, before we do the scores, but I just cannot fathom it. So on that basis, every score has to be a guess. But quite often when they get a shocking result, they then follow up with a good one. And Middlesbrough, albeit, probably had less possession, less shots, but beat Stoke quite convincingly 3-0. So all logic should point to a Borough win, which is when Preston turn up and sneak it. So 2-0 Preston.
Cody?
I don't know, because it's not just the fact Preston lost that worries me. It's the fact they only had one shot on target. They had significantly less of the game. Wickham had enough chances to win 2 or 3 matches in that match. And the fact they only won 1-0, they'll probably be a little disappointed. I agree with Charlie, you just have to guess at this point. But based on Middlesbrough winning at the weekend, I think I'm going to have to go on their side of the fence. I'm going to go for 2-1 because Preston on the road generally do have a better chance of nicking a goal. They've been better all season, but Middlesbrough are still going to win it.
I was quite impressed with Middlesbrough, to be fair. They obviously took their chances. And it was a nice counter-attack right at the end for the third goal against Stoke. Preston, I don't know with Preston anymore. And obviously, I gave Charlie that question about Preston, and I feel bad now because I don't think I've praised them all season, Preston, because they've been so inconsistent. I can't remember the last time I actually praised them. Is it Bournemouth away? Probably any time. But I'm going to go Middlesbrough to win. To be honest, I'm going to go Middlesbrough to win 2-0. Up next, it is Rotherham versus Watford. Charlie, Rotherham have not played in a while, but Watford, how big of a goal, that last-minute goal, was that for them, considering that teams around them like Swansea and Brentford won before them?
Well, it keeps them in the hunt, and I think we've said this about a few teams this season that haven't played necessarily well, or I shouldn't say that, haven't necessarily deserved to win a game, but have won, and that's normally the form, like Dan mentioned earlier, that gets promoted. Rotherham, their home form hasn't quite been as good as their away form recently, so on that basis, and Watford aren't the greatest away, so I'm leaning towards a draw because Rotherham have got a lot to play for, but so have Watford. I'm going to bottle it 1-0. There's no reason why it should be a championship favourite scoreline, but I just think Watford away from home are not quite as convincing as they could be.
I don't think this would be a convincing win for Watford either. Obviously, Rotherham got to play catch up. You've got to remember Rotherham's last win was away at Sheffield Wednesday, and that was a good victory. Hopefully, the squad will be boosted by it. But as we said previously, early in the season, about teams that have been off with COVID, how are they going to react to the first game back? And it's going to be a tough one for them. But I think Watford will sneak it like they did on Saturday. I'm going to go for 2-1 to the Hornets. Cody?
Yeah, I don't really know what to predict with Rotherham. Again, as you mentioned, it's so unpredictable after the week and a half off. The thing that worries me for them generally now is if you take out the international break, they've essentially got 14 games to play in 7 weeks. So they're the only team in the league who are going to be playing twice a week every week. So at the start for this week, it's probably all right, but later on, it might well harm them. So I think they're going to get a bounce out of this one. I agree with Charlie that they're going to get a point, but I think this game's going to be a thriller. And I know Watford aren't in them often, but when they are, they go big. So this is going to be 3-3, Craig Savage. Got to have one a week.
Right, up next, it is Bournemouth versus Swansea. Big game at the top of the Championship. Cody, Swansea, you watched the 90 minutes against Luton. Do you see them having enough to finish second place?
I don't know, to be brutally honest, because you would say on the performance, absolutely not. They were average at best, but they managed the game incredibly well. I mean, it's not often a side flying at the top would come and get booked for time wasting in the 50s in terms of minutes. But let's be fair, they got the 3 points and they're not going to care apart from that. That's now 4 games unbeaten, 3 wins out of those, all by the odd goal. Bournemouth, I mean, at home to Barnsley, you can't concede 3 goals at this stage of the season. And I think that possibly is their playoff chances. And me and Charlie were just starting to have some doubts, but I think the real Jonathan Woodgate is just starting to creep out. So we're not going to look too ridiculous at this point. I can only see Swansea winning it, but again, it will be tense, it will be close, it will be by the odd goal. So I'm not going for the law this week because it's let me down too many times. I'm going for 2-1 to Swansea.
I thought Swansea were okay. I thought, obviously, Luton battered them, let's be honest. Yeah, obviously, they've done enough to get over the line, and whether it's them or Luton not taking their chances is another thing. But good teams find a way to win a game. I think Swansea will nip it, to be fair. By the odd goals, well, I'm going to go for 1-0 to Swansea. Charlie?
Oh, I have to go for the law, don't I? Because one of us has to every week. No, yeah, I completely agree with what you say. I haven't got a lot to add. I think they are just showing the performances of a team that gets promoted. And that is, as we alluded to, not necessarily playing well, but coming out 3 points. And ultimately, that's what you're judged on. So on that basis, 2-0. And I know we joke about it, but possibly the fact that Bournemouth can be a bit frail when they let one in. So possibly Swansea might get a second one before the half-time interval and one after. 2-0 Swansea.
Up next, City Ground, it is Nottingham Forest versus Norwich. And Cody, as I just said about not playing pretty, but winning the game, Norwich did exactly that today. Won it down early, but went on to win 2-1.
Yeah, they're winning every game. Some of them are ugly, some of them are pretty, but there were pretty goals in an ugly win. I think that's the best way of putting Sunday's game. But they're winning every game. They're going to go up. They're going to be champions. There's no doubt about that now. And they're coming up against a Forest side who continue to be toothless for the chances they create. So, I mean, that Nottingham Forest Reading game was bizarre. There were 38 shots and it was 1 apiece. It really is an unusual result. No clear-cut chances, a lot of speculative efforts, but Forest don't score goals. So it's going to be a Norwich victory. It's just whether it's 1 or 2-0. Whichever one I don't go for, I'm sure someone else will. But I'm going to go for 2. I think Norwich will nick a second.
Charlie?
Yeah, it's tough. I just think if Forest had an informed striker, genuinely, goodness knows how much higher up the league they'd be, as you alluded to. But I can see them getting one. I think Norwich will still win. I think we spoke about that performance of champions. But yeah, I think that Forest sometimes in these games, then when they get written off a bit, will get an early one in like the 4th minute or something crazy like that, put the wind up Norwich, a bit like Awakening the Beast, and then the Norwich machine rolls in. So on that basis, Norwich win 2-1 again, repeat of Sunday.
I'm going to go for the convincing win for Norwich, to be honest. I said it'd be 4-0 to them on Sunday. That didn't work out. I'm going to go one less this time. I'm going to go 3-0 to Norwich City at Nottingham Forest. Up next, it's a London derby. It is Queen's Park Rangers versus Millwall. Charlie, obviously QPR, going back to that inconsistency again. They lost 1-0 to Huddersfield.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, how that happened, I'm baffled by that. I really am, because the form that QPR are in. But then, I'm not going about the old stuff, 66% possession, but then 4 shots out of it. When you look at Huddersfield, 13 shots, I know we'll talk about them in a minute, off of 34%. So there's something going on there. But then Millwall just came to spoil the game and somehow got a 1-0 win. So the obvious answer should be a draw. Millwall, they end up holding a humdinger. Yeah, 4-goal split, 2 each, because both teams I can't predict anything. So I'm going to go for my sort of unsure answer, 2-2.
I'm going to go the same route as you, Charlie, to be honest, on a draw. I don't see this being the game of the week, but I don't see many chances happening in this game, to be honest, as well. But I think a draw will be fine for both sides. I'm going to go for 1-1. Cody?
I couldn't disagree with a pair of you more because, and I'm going to talk you through this one very quickly. QPR, I've said so many times, if they're playing at home or against a side who sit deep and encounter them, they're in trouble. If they have a team that comes and attack them on the counter, they're ruthless. Now, Millwall are going to be the exact same as Huddersfield. They're going to sit deep and they're going to try and hit them with direct counter attacks. QPR won't be able to break it down. They might get one through Charlie Austin, but either way, Millwall are going to nick 2 on the break and they're going to win either 2-0 or 2-1. I'm going convincing. 2-0.
Up next at Adams Park, it is Wycombe Wanderers versus Barnsley. Barnsley's run is carrying on, Codes.
It's remarkable. Well, you've got to say fair play to them because nobody thought they'd be here. Ishmael has exceeded even our expectations and he's worked wonders there. I mean, The sad thing is, if he misses out this year and starts next season poorly, due to the footballing world, he'll probably be sacked in October. But he's just been a breath of fresh air. He's been brilliant. They play good football as well. It's not like they're just clinging on in games. And they went to a good Bournemouth side and made them look pretty average at parts. But they're coming up against a Wickham side who, at home, got 3 points. And just as we said that might be the final nail in the coffin, they got the result that's going to keep them in there just. It's only 9 points now, Craig. And with the Karanka situation at Birmingham, that might not be the end of the world. So, do you know what? Against all odds, because everyone's going to go for Barnsley, and Wickham have got something to fight for now. It's not going to be 1-0. It's going to be 2-1, and Joe Jacobson will score a corner.
No, Barnsley won this game, to be honest. I don't think it'd be pretty. It was a great result for Wickham. They're only 2 points behind Sheffield Wednesday now. But Barnsley are too strong for them, in my opinion. 2-0 to Barnsley. Charlie.
Yeah, I can see where both of you are coming from, to be honest. I mean, the 2 home wins at Wickham in the last 5 have been 1-0. So if you are going to back them, you'd go by the odd goal. But I don't know, Barnsley have been so strong. I don't think it'll be convincing, but I think Barnsley might have enough to get a win here. But Wickham at home are a bit stronger. It's so tough. Do you know what? For the sake of the competition, down the middle, 1-0, Championship's favourite scoreline. Goes against everything I've literally just said, but still, that's the Championship.
Right, up next at St Andrews, it is Birmingham City versus Reading. There are reports at the time of recording that Karanka is gone. Charlie, do you see anything happening with Birmingham in this game?
It's one of the few times where I think even a new manager bounce isn't going to apply to this. Whoever, if someone's in that time, whether that happens or not. But so I don't know what's going on there really. For the size of the club, the resources, the leadership of it is baffling. Reading have been a bit of a mixed bag. I mean, to be honest, like you say, only gone 1 goal against Forest despite having 23 shots. I mean, some days you're in, some days you're not. Are they going to put Birmingham to the sword off the back of that? Yes, they are. Big one. 4-0 Reading.
Cody.
I'm going to completely disagree because, as you've just alluded to, Craig, there is every chance that before this prediction show comes out, there will be a manager special on Birmingham. And depending on who that man is, if they put all the money out for a short-term fix, they will get a reaction. Reading, as I mentioned in the Nottingham Forest bit, had 23 of those 38 shots in that game, and it was 1 goal. They've only scored 1 in 2 of their last 3 wins. And if Birmingham get a new manager bounce, they will score a goal. So it's Championship's favourite scoreline or a Birmingham win. Do you know what? I'm going to bank on there being someone in charge that's going to give them a lift. 2-1 to Birmingham against all the odds.
I totally disagree. This Birmingham team is, I don't know if it's a Karanka thing or the players thing, but they've run out of ideas. I've said this from the start of the season, and I'm going to carry on saying it. They're probably the second worst team I've seen all season. But if Reading turn up, they could be so ruthless. And I can understand why Charlie's gone for 4-0. But I'm not going to go 4-0. I'm going to go half that because I want to be safe. I'm going to go Reading to win 2-0.
He's finally admitted it.
Up next at Ewood Park, it is Blackburn Rovers versus Bristol City. Charlie, Bristol City, do you know what? Value for their money? Good 3-0 win away at Blackburn.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah. I mean, we just spoke about Birmingham. Maybe, I don't know if that is a result to judge a team by the way the form that Birmingham have been in. However, they're playing a Blackburn side who've got, again, like I alluded to with a couple of teams earlier on, got nothing to play for apart from the fact of a bit of pride and potentially a manager job. So on that basis, Bristol City, albeit maybe an outside chance, but still in that hunt for getting into the playoffs. So I just think on that alone, I have to back Bristol City. Nigel Pearson, I imagine this would suit him. Bradley Dack's now injured for Blackburn as well, so that's a big loss for them. He's out for, bless him, for however months and months by the sounds of it. So Bristol City to win, I think a repeat, 3-0. I'm going for a lot of goals in the last 3 games, 3-0.
Yeah, I think Bristol City will win it. Obviously, as you just said, Bradley Dack is obviously went off injured again, and obviously we wish him a speedy recovery. But he is a big blow because he's starting to get back into form. Blackburn's trying to get back into form. Losing him is a blow. I still think Bristol City win. I'm going to go 1-0, actually. I'm going to go 1-0 Bristol City. Cody?
Well, that's excellent because I want to go right in between, I think, because I don't want to sound like a broken record. Blackburn had more possession than Brentford. Bristol City had less possession than Birmingham. It's all about soaking up the pressure. We just have to accept more direct styles, generally, probably outside of Norwich, are working better in a championship this year. It's just a fact. It's one of those seasons. Bristol City will win the fight to have less possession in this game. And on the counter, I think they will be effective. I just don't know whether Blackburn are going to get a goal. Do you know what? I'm going to bank on them because Bristol City have still got a few clangers in them defensively. They've not been perfect in recent weeks. So I'm going to go for Bristol City to sneak a 2-1 win.
And the final game is a Yorkshire derby. It's a big one down at the bottom of the championship. It's Sheffield Wednesday versus Huddersfield at Hillsborough. Charlie, basically, if you lose this game, you feel like you're probably going to go down.
Agreed. And this is why the way the Championship works and her mystic Sheffield Wednesday will win this game, because every team so far that looks like they're about to drop, about to go through the trapdoor, somehow pulls out a win from somewhere. And I'm going for the win of all wins. I'm going for a 7-goal thriller, 4-3 Sheffield Wednesday. And the reason being is both teams are fighting for their lives. They're going to throw everything at it. You know, in fairness to Darren Moore, we talk about him a lot. The last 2 or 3 games have been tough. And as a manager, you've probably got to say, look, if we get anything out of this, be a draw here or whatever, it's a bonus. But the likelihood is we're going to lose them. However, like you say, this one, they're going to have to throw everything at it. But both teams are going to do that. So it'll either go one of 2 ways. It'll either be 0-0 because both teams will cancel each other out and they're so scared of conceding. Or, as I think it will be, both teams going to go gung-ho, goals galore, 4-3 to Sheffield Wednesday. However, whatever happens, whoever loses is really, really in a lot of trouble.
Cody?
I kind of agree with Charlie. I'm not going quite as gung-ho because I don't think Huddersfield have got that in them, because away from home this season, they've largely been awful. And they often concede a lot of goals as well. I mean, 2 against Derby, who barely scored, 3 against Preston, whose home form has been indifferent. But then they won at QPR, and that's the only thing that's throwing me here. But Sheffield Wednesday, Darren Moore said it after the game today, it is just the confidence of getting the first win. They actually played well against Norwich. And, you know, there wasn't much between the 2 sides. And we saw last week with Luton, Norwich are very good. And Sheffield Wednesday restricted them. They played well against Rotherham and were unlucky not to get the result. It's only really the Reading game they weren't great. So I think because it's win or bust, Darren Moore will get the result this game. And I think it'll be pretty convincing. I'm going to go for 3-1 because I don't trust Sheffield Wednesday to not produce a howler at the back. But a comfortable win, and Huddersfield will be in big trouble.
Oh, this is a tough one. This really is a tough one to pick. You 2 have gone for goals. I don't think there's going to be many goals in this game. I'm going to go Sheffield Wednesday to nick it. I don't know why. I have no trust in either team. I think Sheffield Wednesday will win this game 1-0. So let's have a quick recap of what we just predicted from Matchday 37. Charlie has gone for 2 bold claims on the 4-3 thriller for Sheffield Wednesday versus Huddersfield down the bottom of the Championship, and Reading to batter Birmingham 4-0. Cody has gone for a glamorous 3-3 draw between Rotherham and Watford, and a Sheffield Wednesday to beat Huddersfield 3-1. I've gone Norwich to be convincing win against Forest 3-0, and the usual tight 1-0 wins in midweek. And those are our predictions for Matchday 37. Do you agree with us or disagree with us? Let us know in the comment section down below. And give us your predictions for this midweek fixtures. While you're down there, give this video a like, subscribe to the Honest Football Podcast. You can follow us on Twitter @HonestFootball3, and we'll see you next time.